Everyone, imagine a time long before civilization, before cities, before even the earliest human ancestors walked the earth. 1 million years ago, our planet was a vastly different place, shaped by powerful natural forces, incredible wildlife, and the slow but steady march of evolution. Today, let's take a journey back in time to explore what the world looked like 1 million years ago. 1 million years ago, the Earth was in the midst of the Pleistocene epoch, a time that played a crucial role in shaping the world we know today. The Pleistocene, which began about 2.6 million years ago and lasted until roughly 11700 years ago, was characterized by dramatic climate fluctuations, including cycles of glacial and interglacial periods. These shifts in temperature had a profound impact on the planet's landscapes, ecosystems, and the evolution of early life forms. At this time, the world was experiencing an ice age, meaning that vast ice sheets covered large portions of North America, Europe, and Asia. These glaciers expanded and retreated over thousands of years, carving out valleys. When the ice sheets advanced, they locked away enormous amounts of water, causing ocean levels to drop significantly. This exposed land bridges, such as the Bering Land Bridge between Asia and North America, which later played a crucial role in human migration. Despite the cold conditions in some regions, the world was not entirely frozen. Closer to the equator, the environment was warmer, with sprawling grasslands, dense forests, and diverse ecosystems supporting an incredible variety of wildlife. Africa, for instance, remained a hotspot of biodiversity, hosting early forms of modern animals as well as our ancestors. The shifting climates forced species to adapt, migrate, or face extinction, leading to significant evolutionary pressures that would shape life on Earth. The Pleistocene was also marked by powerful geological activities. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and shifting tectonic plates continued to reshape the planet's surface. These forces contributed to the formation of mountain ranges, river valleys, and other geological features that still exist today. Some of the most iconic natural landmarks, such as the Grand Canyon, were being shaped by erosion and other natural processes during this time. This period was not just a time of extreme weather and landscape transformation, it was also an era that set the stage for the development of early humans. The conditions of the Pleistocene played a major role in influencing migration patterns, survival strategies, and the eventual dominance of Homo sapiens. 1 million years ago, the Earth's climate was vastly different from what we experience today. The planet was in the grip of the Pleistocene epoch, a period dominated by a series of ice ages. These ice ages were characterized by long, frigid glacial periods, where temperatures dropped significantly, followed by shorter, warmer interglacial periods. This cycle of freezing and thawing had a profound impact on the Earth's surface, ecosystems, and even the evolution of species, including early humans. During the coldest phases of the Ice Age, massive ice sheets stretched across vast regions of the northern hemisphere. Glaciers covered large parts of North America, Europe, and Asia, sometimes extending thousands of kilometers southward. In some areas, the ice was over a mile thick, pressing down on the land and slowly reshaping the continents. These glaciers acted like enormous bulldozers, carving out valleys, smoothing out mountain ranges, and creating lakes that still exist today, such as the Great Lakes in North America. The weight of the ice even caused parts of the Earth's crust to sink, a process known as isostatic depression. Despite these frozen landscapes, not all parts of the world were covered in ice. Near the equator, regions such as Africa, South Asia, and parts of South America remained much warmer, supporting rich and diverse ecosystems. These warmer regions became refuges for many species, including early human ancestors, who relied on the available food and water sources to survive. The Ice Age also had a significant impact on global sea levels because so much of the Earth's water was trapped in massive ice sheets. Sea levels were dramatically lower than they are today, by as much as 100 meters or more. This exposed vast stretches of land that are now underwater, including the Bering Land Bridge, which once connected Asia and North America. These exposed land masses played a crucial role in the migration of early humans and animals, shaping the distribution of species across continents. The extreme climate conditions of the Ice Age forced both plants and animals to adapt in order to survive. Some species, such as woolly mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses, developed thick fur and layers of fat to withstand the cold. Others, like saber-toothed cats and dire wolves, evolved specialized hunting techniques. Forests shrank in some regions, giving way to vast grasslands and tundras that supported herds of grazing animals, which in turn sustained large predators. In addition to the cold, regions that were not covered in ice experienced extreme dryness. With so much water locked away in glaciers, rainfall levels were significantly lower, leading to the expansion of deserts and arid regions. In some areas, such as Central Asia, strong winds swept across vast plains, creating dust storms and shaping the terrain over time. The fluctuations in climate were not only influenced by natural earth cycles, but also by external forces, including variations in the Earth's orbit, axial tilt, and the amount of sunlight reaching the planet. These factors contributed to long-term climate shifts, leading to alternating cold and warm periods over thousands of years. This ever-changing climate played a crucial role in the evolution of life on Earth. Species that could not adapt to the shifting conditions faced extinction, while those that could find ways to survive thrived. Early human ancestors had to develop new strategies such as learning to control fire, crafting better tools, and seeking shelter in caves or constructing simple dwellings to withstand the harsh environment. These adaptations laid the foundation for future human advancements and the eventual rise of modern civilizations. 1,000,000 years ago, the earth was teeming with an astonishing variety of wildlife, many of which were vastly different from the animals we know today. This was an era dominated by massive mammals, fierce predators, and bizarre creatures that have since gone extinct. The Pleistocene epoch, often referred to as the Ice Age, was a time of great biodiversity, with animals evolving unique adaptations to survive the harsh and ever-changing climate. One of the most iconic creatures of this time was the woolly mammoth, Mammothus primigenius. These colossal relatives of modern elephants roamed the icy tundras of North America, Europe, and Asia. With their thick fur, long curved tusks, and a layer of insulating fat, woolly mammoths were perfectly adapted to the freezing temperatures of the Ice Age. They traveled in herds, much like today's elephants, and relied on their tusks to dig through snow and ice to find vegetation beneath. Another legendary predator of this era was the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, known for its enormous dagger-like canine teeth. Unlike modern big cats, Smilodon was heavily built with muscular forelimbs, making it a powerful ambush predator. It likely hunted large prey such as bison, horses, and even young mammoths. The saber-toothed cat's unique hunting strategy allowed it to thrive in the grassy plains and forests of the Pleistocene. But as climates changed and prey populations declined, it eventually went extinct. The giant ground sloth, Megadrium, was another remarkable creature that roamed South America. Unlike today's small tree-dwelling sloths, these giants could grow up to 20 feet long and weigh several tons. Despite their enormous size, they were herbivores, feeding on leaves, fruits, and branches. With their massive claws, they could defend themselves against predators or pull down tree branches to access food. The dire wolf, Canis durus, was a larger and more robust relative of the modern gray wolf. It lived across North and South America, hunting in packs and preying on large herbivores. While dire wolves were similar in many ways to today's wolves, they had a stronger bite force and heavier bones, making them well equipped for the Ice Age environment. Fossils of dire wolves have been found in places like the La Brea tar pits in California, where many animals became trapped in sticky tar and preserved for thousands of years. Other bizarre and fascinating creatures also thrived during this time. The Glyptodon, an ancient relative of the armadillo, resembled a giant armored tank covered in a thick shell that protected it from predators. Some species of Glyptodon could grow as large as a small car, making them nearly invulnerable to most attacks. Their heavy club-like tails could be used for defense against formidable predators like Smilodon. The skies of 1,000,000 years ago were also home to large birds, including the terror birds, Phorus rhasid, which were flightless, carnivorous birds that ruled the grasslands of South America. These towering creatures, some reaching 10 feet in height, were apex predators, using their powerful beaks to strike down prey with incredible force. Their long legs allowed them to chase down smaller animals at high speeds. Marine life was equally diverse during this time. Ancient whales, massive sharks, and a variety of sea creatures thrived in the oceans. Although the infamous megalodon had already gone extinct by this time, other large marine predators, such as early species of killer whales and enormous sea lions, dominated the waters. Despite the dominance of these massive creatures, the world was beginning to change. Climate fluctuations and shifts in ecosystems forced many species to adapt, migrate, or face extinction. The emergence of early human ancestors also played a role in the changing wildlife populations, as humans gradually became skilled hunters. The world 1,000,000 years ago was a wild, untamed place, filled with enormous beasts, fearsome predators, and creatures unlike anything seen today. These animals not only shaped their environment but also played a crucial role in the evolution of ecosystems and the eventual rise of modern species. 1,000,000 years ago, the human story was still in its early stages. The modern human species, Homo sapiens, had not yet evolved, but our distant ancestors were already walking the earth, slowly developing the skills and intelligence that would eventually lead to the rise of civilization. The dominant human ancestor at this time was Homo erectus, one of the first species to exhibit characteristics that set humans apart from other primates. Homo erectus had a larger brain than earlier hominins, allowing them to develop better tools and strategies for survival. They were also among the first to walk fully upright for long distances, which gave them an advantage in terms of endurance and mobility. This ability to move efficiently allowed them to spread beyond Africa, reaching parts of Europe and Asia. Fossils of Homo erectus have been found in Africa, China, Indonesia, and the Middle East, showing that they were one of the first human species to migrate and adapt to different environments. One of the most groundbreaking developments during this time was the control of fire. Though early humans may have encountered and used naturally occurring fires, such as those caused by lightning strikes, they gradually learned how to create and maintain fire on their own. This was a game changing discovery as fire provided warmth in cold climates, protection from predators, and the ability to cook food. Cooking made food easier to chew and digest, which may have contributed to brain growth by allowing early humans to absorb more nutrients efficiently. Fire also enabled them to extend their activities into the night, offering security and fostering a sense of community as they gathered around the flames. Another significant advancement was the use of tools. Early humans had already begun using simple stone tools for cutting, scraping, and hunting. But by 1 million years ago, these tools had become more advanced. Homo erectus was skilled in making Acheulean hand axes, which were large, sharp-edged stone tools used for chopping wood, butchering animals, and digging. These tools represented a major leap in technology and demonstrated the ability of early humans to plan, shape materials, and pass down knowledge through generations. Although they did not build permanent settlements, early humans lived in small groups, moving from place to place in search of food and shelter. They were hunter-gatherers, meaning they relied on hunting animals and foraging for plants, nuts, and berries. Living in groups provided safety and increased their chances of survival, as teamwork was essential for hunting large animals like mammoths and bison. The ability to communicate was another crucial aspect of early human life. While they had not yet developed complex languages, early humans likely used a combination of gestures, facial expressions, and primitive vocal sounds to communicate with one another. This form of early communication helped coordinate hunting efforts, warn against dangers, and strengthen social bonds within their groups. Over time, this would lay the foundation for the development of spoken language, one of the most defining traits of human civilization. As early humans spread across different regions, they encountered diverse climates and challenges, forcing them to adapt in unique ways. In colder environments, they likely wrapped themselves in animal skins for warmth, while in warmer regions, they may have relied on natural shelters like caves or rock overhangs. Some groups settled near rivers and lakes, taking advantage of water sources for drinking, fishing, and attracting prey animals. The world 1 million years ago was still a dangerous place, filled with large predators such as saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and packs of dire wolves. Early humans had to constantly be on alert, relying on their intelligence, cooperation, and developing survival skills to avoid becoming prey. This constant struggle for survival pushed early humans to evolve, sharpening their instincts and preparing them for the eventual rise of more advanced human species. The presence of Homo erectus 1 million years ago marks a crucial turning point in human evolution. While they were not yet the dominant species on Earth, they were laying the foundation for future generations. Their use of fire, tools, communication, and group cooperative would pave the way for the eventual emergence of Homo sapiens, setting humanity on its long journey towards civilization. 1 million years ago, the continents were largely in the same positions as they are today, but the landscapes, climates, and ecosystems were dramatically different. The Earth was still undergoing significant geological and climatic changes that shaped the environments in which early humans and animals lived. Mountains were rising, rivers were carving deep valleys, and vast plains and forests stretched across continents. Although the major land masses had settled into their current locations due to plate tectonics, the world looked and functioned very differently from what we see today. One of the most striking differences was the impact of the Ice Age. Large portions of North America, Europe, and Asia were covered by immense glaciers, which could be more than a mile thick in some areas. These ice sheets extended down to what are now the northern United States, Germany, and Russia, dramatically altering the landscape. When these glaciers advanced, they acted like massive bulldozers, scraping away soil, crushing rocks, and carving out valleys and lakes. Many of today's most famous lakes, such as the Great Lakes in North America, were created by these glaciers during this period. At the same time, sea levels were much lower than they are today because so much of the Earth's water was locked in ice. This exposed vast land bridges, allowing animals and early humans to migrate between continents. One of the most famous examples is the Bering Land Bridge, which connected Asia to North America. This land bridge played a crucial role in the later migration of humans and animals between these two continents. Similarly, lower sea levels exposed other land connections, such as those between Southeast Asia and Australia, altering the distribution of species across the globe. The landscapes of Africa, where early humans evolved, were different from what we see today. While it still had vast savannas and dense forests, this changing environment played a significant role in human evolution, as early hominins had to adapt to a more open landscape, which encouraged bipedal walking and advanced hunting techniques. Africa also remained a biodiversity hotspot, with early versions of modern animals such as elephants, giraffes, and lions roaming its lands. In Asia, the landscape varied greatly depending on the region. Northern Asia was dominated by cold tundras and coniferous forests, where large Ice Age mammals like woolly mammoths thrived. In contrast, southern Asia had dense tropical forests, which provided a habitat for early humans and various primates. Large rivers such as the Yangtze and Ganges were already shaping the land, supporting wildlife and vegetation. The Himalayas, which had been rising for millions of years due to the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates, continued to grow, reaching heights that would one day make them the tallest mountains in the world. Europe was a land of extremes. Much of it was covered in ice during the coldest periods, but during warmer interglacial phases, lush forests and grasslands stretched across the continent. These changing environments influenced the migration patterns of animals such as bison, reindeer, and early horses. Early humans, particularly Homo erectus, were able to settle in Europe during the warmer periods, taking advantage of the rich resources available in rivers, forests, and open plains. North and South America were home to an incredible array of Ice Age megafauna. In North America, the Great Plains were filled with massive herds of prehistoric bison, giant sloths, and saber-toothed cats. The Rocky Mountains and Appalachian Mountains stood as they do today, though glaciers covered their peaks during colder periods. South America, meanwhile, was home to some of the most unique prehistoric creatures, such as the glyptodon, a giant armored relative of the armadillo, and terror birds, massive flightless birds that were among the continent's top predators. The Amazon rainforest was already a thriving ecosystem, supporting countless species of plants and animals. Australia was largely isolated from the rest of the world, just as it is today. While it was not covered by glaciers like the northern continents, it had a much cooler and drier climate than today. This ancient version of Australia was home to marsupial megafauna, including Diprotodon, a giant wombat-like herbivore, and Thylacoleo, a carnivorous marsupial lion that was one of the top predators of its time. Many of these species would later go extinct due to climate changes and human activity. The oceans were also significantly different a million years ago because of lower sea levels. Many shallow coastal areas that are now underwater were exposed as dry land. Ocean currents were influenced by the Ice Age climate, which affected global temperatures and weather patterns. The cold waters of the Arctic and Antarctic were expanding, leading to a shift in marine ecosystems. Large marine mammals like early species of whales, seals, and walruses thrived in these frigid waters, while massive fish and sharks dominated the warmer seas. Volcanic activity and tectonic movements were still shaping the world's continents. Earthquakes, mountain building processes, and volcanic eruptions continued to sculpt the land. The East African Rift, a massive geological fault system in Africa, was slowly pulling the continent apart, creating large valleys and lakes that would later become key regions for early human settlement. Similarly, volcanic eruptions in regions like Indonesia and the Pacific Ring of Fire were altering landscapes and influencing climate by releasing ash and gases into the atmosphere. A million years ago, the Earth was a dynamic and ever-changing planet shaped by powerful natural forces. While the continents themselves were in familiar positions, the landscapes, climates, and ecosystems were constantly shifting, providing both challenges and opportunities for early humans and wildlife. These transformations set the stage for the world we know today, laying the foundation for the environments, landforms, and life forms that continue to evolve. A million years ago, the Earth's ecosystems were vastly different from what we see today. The planet was home to a variety of landscapes, ranging from vast grasslands and dense forests to frozen tundras and arid deserts. These environments played a crucial role in shaping the evolution of plants, animals, and early humans. The climate of the time, marked by ice age cycles, influenced the types of vegetation that could thrive in different regions. Some areas supported rich biodiversity, while others were harsh and inhospitable. One of the most dominant types of ecosystems at the time was the grassland, which stretched across large portions of Africa, North America, and Eurasia. These open plains were home to enormous herds of grazing animals such as mammoths, ancient bison, and prehistoric horses. The grasses that grew in these regions were well adapted to the seasonal changes, with deep root systems that helped them survive periods of drought. These grasslands were also the hunting grounds of powerful predators like saber-toothed cats and dire wolves, creating a balanced yet brutal ecosystem where survival depended on speed, strength, and adaptability. In contrast to the open plains, dense forests and jungles covered vast areas of South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. These forests were filled with towering trees, thick undergrowth, and diverse plant life that provided shelter and food for countless species. Early humans and primates thrived in these environments, using the trees for protection and sustenance. Tropical rainforests, such as the ancient Amazon, were already forming, creating rich, humid ecosystems teeming with life. Many of the plant species that existed then have persisted into the modern era, serving as the foundation of today's rainforests. The Ice Age tundras and boreal forests of the northern continents presented a starkly different landscape. These regions were dominated by coniferous trees such as pines, spruces, and firs, which were well suited to the cold environment. Unlike the tropical forests, which supported a wide variety of plant life, these boreal forests had fewer species but were incredibly resilient. Mosses, lichens, and low-lying shrubs covered the ground, providing food for large herbivores like woolly mammoths and reindeer. These cold environments were shaped by glaciers that advanced and retreated over thousands of years, leaving behind moraines, lakes, and barren stretches of land that would later be recolonized by plant life. In regions where rainfall was scarce, deserts and arid landscapes began to take shape. While deserts today, such as the Sahara and Gobi, are vast and lifeless in many areas, a million years ago, these regions may have been more hospitable during certain periods. They supported drought-resistant plants such as hardy shrubs, cacti, and grasses that could survive in the dry climate. Some deserts expanded and contracted depending on the shifts in climate, forcing animals and early humans to adapt by developing new survival strategies. Wetlands and swamps were another key feature of the prehistoric world. These ecosystems, found in places like the Mississippi River Basin and parts of Africa, were rich with plant life, from water lilies and reeds to massive cypress trees. These wetlands served as important habitats for amphibians, reptiles, and early mammals, providing a constant source of water and shelter. They also played a crucial role in maintaining environmental stability, acting as natural water filters and carbon sinks. Another fascinating aspect of the vegetation a million years ago was the presence of megaflora, or giant plants that thrived in certain regions. Some ancient species of trees grew to incredible heights, forming dense canopies that shaped entire ecosystems. Massive ferns, which had already existed for hundreds of millions of years, continued to flourish, especially in humid climates. These plants played an essential role in absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, contributing to the global climate balance. As early humans and animals adapted to their surroundings, they also began interacting with plant life in new ways. Early human ancestors may have relied on certain plants for food, medicinal purposes, and shelter, marking the beginning of a long relationship between humans and the environment. Some of these plants would later become essential to human agriculture, leading to the eventual domestication of crops. Despite the beauty and richness of the world's ecosystems a million years ago, these environments were constantly changing due to natural forces, such as volcanic eruptions, shifting tectonic plates, and climate fluctuations. Massive volcanic eruptions could blanket landscapes in ash, temporarily disrupting ecosystems but also enriching the soil for future plant growth. Earthquakes and mountain building processes altered river systems and created new habitats, while changing sea levels influenced coastal ecosystems and reshaped the boundaries between land and water. The ecosystems of a million years ago were diverse, dynamic, and constantly evolving. From the frozen tundras to the lush rainforests, each environment played a role in the survival and evolution of life on Earth. These landscapes shaped the development of plants and animals, influencing the course of natural history in ways that still impact the world today. A million years ago, the Earth was teeming with a vast array of prehistoric animals, many of which were much larger and more formidable than their modern counterparts. This period was part of the Pleistocene epoch, a time when Ice Age megafauna, giant mammals, and other massive creatures roamed across different continents. These animals had evolved to adapt to various environments, from the frozen tundras of the north to the humid jungles of the tropics. They played a crucial role in their ecosystems, shaping the landscapes and influencing the survival strategies of early humans. One of the most iconic animals of this time was the woolly mammoth, Mammuthus primigenius, a massive elephant-like creature covered in thick fur that helped it survive the icy conditions of Europe, North America, and Asia. Woolly mammoths had long, curved tusks that they used for defense. digging through snow to find vegetation and competing with rivals. These animals lived in large herds similar to modern elephants, and their migration patterns were influenced by the availability of food and seasonal climate changes. Despite their enormous size, they were herbivores, grazing on grasses, shrubs, and tree bark. Another fearsome predator of this era was the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, a powerful feline with long dagger-like teeth, designed for delivering lethal bites to large prey. Unlike modern big cats, Smilodon had a more muscular build, with strong forelimbs that allowed it to wrestle animals to the ground before delivering a fatal bite. Smilodon's unique hunting technique and reliance on ambush tactics made it one of the most specialized predators of the time. One of the largest land predators of this period was the short-faced bear, Arctodus simus, a towering carnivore that was much larger than any bear species alive today. Found in North America, this bear could stand over 10 feet tall on its hind legs and was incredibly fast for its size. Unlike modern bears, which rely on a mix of plant and animal food, the short-faced bear was likely a hypercarnivore, meaning that meat made up most of its diet. Its long limbs and strong muscles made it a dominant force in its ecosystem, capable of scaring away other predators and scavenging kills. The Ice Age also saw the dominance of giant ground sloths, such as megathedium, which could grow up to 20 feet long and weigh several tons. Unlike their modern tree-dwelling relatives, these massive sloths lived on the ground, using their enormous claws to strip leaves from trees and defend themselves from predators. Found in South America, they were slow-moving but formidable creatures that could stand on their hind legs to reach high branches. Another impressive herbivore of the time was the woolly rhinoceros. These creatures had thick fur and a massive horn that was used for defense, attracting mates and clearing snow to find food. The woolly rhino's closest living relatives are modern rhinoceroses. But during the Ice Age, they were much more widespread and played a critical role in shaping their ecosystems by trampling vegetation and creating pathways through snowy landscapes. In North America, massive herds of ancient bison roamed the plains, providing food for both predators and early humans. These bison were larger than today's species and had massive horns that they used in fights during the mating season. Their numbers were so great that they influenced the growth of grasslands by grazing extensively and fertilizing the soil with their waste. In South America, prehistoric terror birds, Priusarocidae, ruled as dominant predators. These flightless birds could grow up to 10 feet tall and had powerful legs that allowed them to run at high speeds to chase down prey. Unlike modern birds, they had hooked beaks designed to tear flesh, making them some of the most fearsome hunters of their time. Terror birds primarily preyed on small mammals and possibly even young megafauna. Australia had its own unique set of prehistoric creatures, many of which were marsupials. One of the most remarkable was Thylacoleo, also known as the marsupial lion. This predator had incredibly strong jaws and sharp claws, making it a highly effective hunter. Unlike true lions, Thylacoleo was a marsupial, meaning that it carried its young in a pouch. It likely ambushed prey from trees or caves, taking advantage of its powerful limbs and climbing ability. The world's rivers and lakes were also home to giant crocodiles, some of which were larger and more dangerous than modern species. These reptiles were apex predators, lying in wait beneath the surface to ambush large mammals that came to drink. Their incredible bite force and stealthy hunting style made them some of the most efficient killers of the time. In the oceans, massive marine creatures dominated. One of the most powerful was Megalodon, an enormous shark that could grow up to 60 feet long. Although it is believed that Megalodon went extinct slightly earlier than 1 million years ago, its legacy influenced the marine ecosystems that followed. Other large marine mammals, such as ancient whales and walruses, thrived in cold waters, adapting to the shifting climate and the availability of food. The prehistoric world was an incredibly diverse and dangerous place, filled with gigantic herbivores and fearsome predators. These creatures played vital roles in shaping their ecosystems, from maintaining grasslands to controlling prey populations. The interactions between these massive animals, early humans, and the changing environment set the stage for the future evolution of life on Earth. 1 million years ago, the Earth was home to some of the earliest human ancestors, marking a crucial stage in the long journey of human evolution. This period within the Pleistocene epoch saw the development of early hominins who were beginning to display intelligence, social structures, and survival strategies that would eventually lead to modern humans. These early ancestors faced a harsh and unforgiving world dominated by giant predators, extreme climate changes, and the constant struggle for food and shelter. One of the most important hominin species alive at this time was Homo erectus, a direct ancestor of modern humans. Homo erectus was a revolutionary species in human evolution, as it was one of the first to exhibit traits that distinguish humans from other primates. Unlike earlier hominins, which were largely limited to Africa, Homo erectus expanded its range into Asia and Europe, marking the first time human ancestors successfully migrated out of Africa. This migration was a significant milestone as it demonstrated adaptability to various climates, from the cold European tundras to the tropical forests of Southeast Asia. Physically, Homo erectus had a more modern body structure compared to earlier hominins like Australopithecus. They were taller, with an average height of around 5 to 6 feet, and had longer limbs that allowed for efficient long-distance walking and running. This adaptation was critical for survival, as it enabled them to cover vast distances in search of food and escape from predators. Their brain size was also considerably larger than their predecessors, averaging about 900 to 1,100 cubic centimeters, which allowed for more advanced problem-solving, communication, and social behavior. One of the most groundbreaking achievements of Homo erectus was their ability to control and use fire. This was a pivotal moment in human evolution, as fire provided multiple advantages that improved their chances of survival. Fire allowed them to cook food, making it easier to digest and unlocking more nutrients from meat and plants. Cooking also reduced the presence of harmful bacteria, leading to better health and stronger bodies. Additionally, fire provided warmth in colder climates, which allowed early humans to expand into new territories that would have otherwise been too harsh to inhabit. Perhaps most importantly, fire served as protection from predators. By gathering around a fire at night, early humans could deter dangerous animals such as saber-toothed cats, hyenas, and giant bears. The development of stone tools was another major step forward for early humans during this period. While earlier hominins had used basic tools made from rocks and sticks, Homo erectus created more sophisticated hand axes and cutting tools, which they used for hunting, butchering animals, and processing plant materials. These tools allowed them to exploit a wider range of food sources, giving them a significant advantage over other species. Their ability to craft and refine tools demonstrated an increasing level of intelligence and planning. Social structures and cooperation played a vital role in the survival of early human ancestors. Homo erectus is believed to have lived in small, close-knit groups, which allowed them to work together to hunt large animals, gather food, and protect themselves from predators. Living in groups also facilitated the sharing of knowledge, as skills such as tool making and fire usage could be passed down through generations. This early form of education and cultural transmission set the stage for more advanced societies in the future. The diet of early human ancestors was diverse and adapted to their environments. As omnivores, they consumed a mix of meat, fruits, roots, nuts, and seeds. Hunting was an essential part of their lifestyle, and they likely used teamwork to take down large prey. The inclusion of more meat in their diet is thought to have played a role in the growth of their brains, as protein and fat provided essential nutrients for cognitive development. One of the most fascinating aspects of early human ancestors was their ability to adapt to changing environments. The world a million years ago was not static. It was constantly shifting due to climate changes. Homo erectus and other early hominins had to be highly adaptable, developing new strategies to cope with droughts, temperature fluctuations, and the movement of prey animals. This adaptability was crucial for their survival and eventual success as a species. Although Homo erectus was the dominant hominin species at the time, they were not the only ones. Other hominin species, such as Homo heidelbergensis, were emerging in certain parts of the world. This species, which appeared later in the Pleistocene, is believed to be a common ancestor of both Neanderthals and modern humans. Their increasing intelligence and tool-making abilities suggest that human evolution was progressing rapidly during this period. The cognitive abilities of early human ancestors were still developing, but they had already begun to exhibit problem-solving skills, memory, and social learning. While they did not have complex languages like modern humans, they likely used a combination of gestures, vocalizations, and facial expressions to communicate with one another. The ability to cooperate, strategize, and learn from experience gave them a survival edge over many other species. Even though they had made remarkable advancements, early humans still faced significant challenges. Life expectancy was short, and injuries or illnesses could be fatal without medical knowledge. The dangers of predation, harsh climates, and food shortages meant that only the strongest and most resourceful individuals could pass on their genes. Natural selection played a crucial role in shaping human evolution, gradually favoring individuals with larger brains, better problem-solving abilities, and improved social cooperation. The world a million years ago was a pivotal time in human evolution, as early ancestors were beginning to master fire, create better tools, and explore new territories. These developments laid the foundation for the emergence of modern humans, demonstrating the remarkable adaptability and resilience that would eventually define our species. A million years ago, the Earth's climate was vastly different from today, shaped by powerful natural forces that influenced landscapes. This period fell within the Pleistocene epoch, a time characterized by dramatic climatic fluctuations, glacial and interglacial cycles, and shifting geological formations. These changes played a significant role in shaping the development of both animal and plant life, as well as the migration and adaptation of early humans. One of the most defining features of this time was the Ice Age, a period marked by cycles of intense cold where massive glaciers expanded across continents. These glaciers could stretch for thousands of miles, covering vast regions of North America, Europe, and Asia in thick sheets of ice. During glacial periods, temperatures dropped significantly, and much of the planet became colder and drier. Enormous ice sheets locked away vast amounts of water, causing sea levels to fall and exposing land bridges that connected different continents. These land bridges allowed animals and early humans to migrate to new areas that would later become isolated due to rising waters during interglacial periods. For example, the Bering Land Bridge, which connected Siberia and North America, was a critical migration route for many species, including the ancestors of some of the first humans to populate the Americas. Similarly, land connections between Britain and mainland Europe, as well as between Indonesia and Australia, enabled the spread of various animal species and early hominins. These shifting landscapes had long-term consequences influencing which species thrived, which went extinct, and how ecosystems developed over time. The periods between ice ages, known as interglacial periods, brought warmer temperatures and the retreat of glaciers. These changes transformed the environment, allowing forests to expand, rivers to flow more freely, and grasslands to flourish. In turn, this led to shifts in animal populations as species that had adapted to colder climates either moved to higher latitudes or became extinct, while warm weather species spread into newly habitable regions. These climate cycles meant that animals and early humans had to continuously adapt, developing survival strategies suited to their changing environment. Beyond the influence of the Ice Age, tectonic activity continued to shape the planet. The movement of Earth's plates caused the formation of mountain ranges, the shifting of continents, and the creation of new landforms. Volcanic eruptions were a common occurrence, releasing massive amounts of ash and gases into the atmosphere. Some of these eruptions may have had profound impacts on climate, leading to short-term cooling events by blocking sunlight. Volcanic activity also played a crucial role in shaping landscapes, creating fertile soils that would later support plant and animal life. One of the most significant geological processes during this time was the rise and fall of sea levels, which was directly tied to the expansion and retreat of glaciers. When ice sheets grew, water levels dropped, exposing more land. When they melted, sea levels rose, flooding coastal areas and reshaping shorelines. This constant fluctuation altered the distribution of rivers, lakes, and wetlands, affecting the habitats of countless species. Some areas that were once fertile and habitable became submerged, while other regions that had been barren and dry were transformed into thriving ecosystems. In addition to the large-scale effects of glaciation, regional climate variations had their own impacts. Some parts of the world experienced extreme droughts, causing deserts to expand and reducing the availability of water. Other areas became wetter, leading to the growth of vast wetlands and swamps. These changes affected not only the types of plants that could survive, but also the animals that depended on them. Some species, like woolly mammoths and giant ground sloths, adapted to harsh, dry conditions, while others thrived in lush, forested environments. Another major force shaping the earth a million years ago was erosion and weathering. Rivers carved deep valleys, winds shaped towering sand dunes, and glaciers scraped away layers of rock, leaving behind dramatic landscapes. The Grand Canyon, for example, was continuing to form as the Colorado River cut deeper into the rock layers. Similarly, other major river systems around the world were shaping the terrain, creating fertile floodplains that would later become important habitats for humans and animals alike. Earthquakes were also a common feature of this time, particularly in areas where tectonic plates met. These powerful natural events reshaped coastlines, lifted mountain ranges, and even created new islands. Some regions that were once underwater rose above sea level, while others sank beneath the ocean. The continuous shifting of Earth's crust meant that the world was in a state of constant transformation, influencing where species lived and how they adapted to their surroundings. In polar regions, the formation of permafrost had significant consequences for the environment. The frozen ground stored massive amounts of organic material, which, when thawed, released gases like methane into the atmosphere. These natural processes contributed to complex climate feedback loops, affecting temperature patterns across the globe. These climatic and geological shifts not only influenced landscapes and ecosystems, but also played a direct role in human evolution. Early humans had to navigate these changes, developing new tools, behaviors, and survival strategies to cope with extreme conditions. Those who could adapt to the harsh winters of glacial periods, find food in drought-stricken landscapes, or migrate in search of better conditions were the ones who thrived. Over time, these challenges drove the advancement of human intelligence, cooperation, and technological innovation. The ever-changing world of 1 million years ago laid the foundation for the planet we know today. From the carving of great valleys and the shifting of continents to the cycles of ice and warmth, these natural forces shaped the Earth's landscapes, ecosystems, and the course of life itself. 1 million years ago, the Earth was home to an array of gigantic animals known as megafauna. Huge, often fearsome creatures that roamed the planet's varied landscapes. These animals, which included some of the largest mammals to ever exist, dominated their environments, shaping ecosystems in profound ways. However, over the course of thousands of years, many of these species went extinct, leading to a dramatic shift in the planet's biological landscape. The reasons behind this mass extinction event are complex, involving a combination of climate change, human hunting, and environmental pressures that transformed ecosystems. In North America, species like the woolly mammoth and mastodon were widespread, roaming the plains in herds. These massive elephant-like creatures were adapted to cold, ice age environments with thick fur and long curved tusks. They were herbivores, grazing on grasses, shrubs, and tree bark. Alongside the woolly mammoth were giant bison, which were much larger than today's bison and played a critical role in the grassland ecosystem. Giant ground sloths also roamed the Americas, growing up to 20 feet long, and were among the largest land mammals of their time. These sloths moved slowly and used their massive claws to feed on leaves from trees, leaving behind a significant impact on the vegetation they consumed. In Eurasia, the woolly rhinoceros was another iconic megafaunal species. These creatures, covered in thick fur and sporting large, curved horns, thrived in the frigid conditions of the northern latitudes. They were herbivores, feeding on tough grasses and shrubs that grew in the cold, dry steppes. Similarly, saber-toothed cats, Smilodon, roamed across the continent, their enormous curved teeth used to deliver swift, fatal bites to large prey. The short-faced bear was another formidable predator in Eurasia, towering over its prey with its incredible size and strength. These animals played key roles in their ecosystems, influencing the balance of prey and prey. In Africa, the megafauna of the time included giant hippos and elephants, as well as giant rhinos that were far larger than their modern counterparts. These animals lived alongside giant antelope and huge lions, whose role as apex predators kept their ecosystems in check. The African megafauna was somewhat different from other regions, but these massive animals still shaped the landscapes through their grazing, predation, and interactions with other species. Australia, an isolated continent, was also home to its own set of remarkable megafauna. Diprotodon, a giant marsupial that resembled a wombat, was the largest herbivore of its time, growing up to 1.8 meters tall and weighing several tons. Alongside it was Megalania, a giant monitor lizard that could reach lengths of up to 7 meters. These massive creatures were at the top of the food chain in Australia and interacted with the environment in unique ways. However, despite their dominance, many of these extraordinary species began to disappear, starting around 1,000 years ago and continuing through to the end of the Pleistocene. The extinction of these megafauna marks one of the most significant events in the history of life on Earth, profoundly altering ecosystems and the course of evolution. This mass extinction, known as the Quaternary extinction event, led to the disappearance of about 75% of large animal species across the globe. The causes of this widespread extinction are still debated by scientists. One of the most significant contributing factors was climate change. As the Earth emerged from the last ice age, global temperatures began to rise, bringing about dramatic shifts in the environment. Glaciers receded, sea levels rose, and previously ice-covered landscapes transformed into warmer, wetter conditions. The cold-adapted megafauna, such as the woolly mammoth and the woolly rhinoceros, struggled to survive as the climate warmed, and the vegetation they relied on shifted or disappeared. As the climate changed, many megafaunal species faced new challenges. Grasslands, which supported large herds of herbivores, began to shrink in some regions, replaced by forests or arid deserts. The new vegetation was often less nutritious, which meant that these large herbivores had to travel further to find food, leading to stress on their populations. For the predators that relied on these herbivores, such as saber-toothed cats and short-faced bears, the loss of prey had dire consequences. Another critical factor in the extinction of megafauna was the expansion of human populations. Early humans, particularly Homo sapiens and Homo erectus, began to spread across the globe, and with them came tools and hunting techniques that put immense pressure on large animal populations. Evidence suggests that humans hunted megafauna for food and other resources, and in some cases may have driven certain species to extinction through overhunting. The role of humans in the extinction of megafauna is still hotly debated, but there is no doubt that early humans, as apex predators, would have contributed to the decline of these massive creatures. In some regions, particularly in Australia, human-induced hunting has been implicated in the extinction of species like Diprotodon and Megalania. The arrival of humans on the continent approximately 500 years ago coincided with the disappearance of many of these unique creatures. In other areas such as North America, the simultaneous impacts of climate change and human hunting likely led to the demise of creatures like the woolly mammoth and the saber-toothed cat. The megafaunal extinction also had profound ecological consequences. With the loss of large herbivores and predators, ecosystems were reshaped. Vegetation patterns changed, as certain plant species that were once kept in check by herbivores grew unchecked, altering the balance of plant communities. Similarly, the loss of apex predators left gaps in the food chain, affecting smaller predators and scavengers. These changes also impacted early human societies, who had to adapt to new environments and resource availability. Interestingly, some megafauna survived the extinction event. For instance, certain species of elephants and rhinos managed to persist into the Holocene epoch, although they too faced threats from humans and environmental changes. Today, many of the descendants of these ancient creatures still roam the earth, although their size and range have been significantly reduced. The extinction of megafauna marked the end of an era on Earth, leaving a legacy of transformed landscapes and ecosystems. The disappearance of these massive creatures paved the way for the rise of smaller mammals, birds, and reptiles, which were better suited to the changing world. As climate conditions and human societies evolved, the course of life on Earth continued to shift, ultimately leading to the biodiversity we see today. A million years ago, the Earth was a vastly different place, teeming with extraordinary species and shaped by powerful natural forces. From the towering giants of the megafauna to the early human ancestors learning to survive in a dynamic world, it was a time of both wonder and struggle. The fluctuations in climate, the rise and fall of species, and the ever-changing landscape set the stage for the world as we know it today. The extinction of the megafauna marked the end of an era, but it also made way for new forms of life, including the rise of humans and the ecosystems we now depend on. As we reflect on the world a million years ago, we are reminded of the delicate balance that sustains life on Earth, how quickly change can reshape our environment, and how the actions of both natural forces and living creatures can have lasting consequences. The Earth continues to evolve, and the challenges that shaped our distant past are still relevant today. Just as early humans adapted to shifting climates and changing ecosystems, we too must learn to adapt to the challenges of our time. The lessons of the past offer us valuable insights as we face our own environmental and ecological challenges. The story of our planet, a story of resilience, adaptation, and transformation, reminds us of the importance of understanding and protecting the world around us for generations to come.